I've never seen a laptop with more stickers. 2 out of 10, wouldn't recommend. Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and this is the brand new ASUS ZenBook 13 S OLED. And like me, this is kind of a big deal. Not just because it's got a fantastic 2.8K OLED screen, or that the ultra-portable body only weighs 1 kilogram, or 2.2 pounds in old money. It's actually what's going on inside that's got my attention. And it's this, AMD's brand new Ryzen 7 6800U processor, which is based on their new ultra-efficient Zen 3 Plus architecture, which is all about increasing sustained clock speeds while also boosting battery life, which is basically the holy grail of laptop performance. And you know what? It actually delivers, although I think it's the integrated Radeon graphics that's the real star of the show. So Zen 3 Plus is AMD's answer to Intel's 12th Gen P series chips, and is the result of their frankly unhealthy obsession with efficiency. For starters, there's a new less power-hungry 6nm process, there's a ton of new low power states, optimized background processes, and a load of other stuff I'm not even smart enough to understand. TDP can now boost up to 28 watts when needed, and the RDNA 2 based Radeon graphics have had a 50% boost up to 12 cores in the 6800U. Meaning gaming on medium-high settings without a discrete GPU is actually half decent for a change. We're also getting support for super fast 6400 MHz LPDDR5 RAM, Wi-Fi 6E, and also we're getting a decent size 67 Wh battery, and also we get a pair of Harman Kardon tuned speakers. So this is the top spec model, I believe, with the 6800U with 16 gigs of RAM and a terabyte of storage, and it will cost you about £1,300 when it comes out later in the year. All I know now is it's Q3, although apparently there will be a lower spec version of this with the 6600U processor for about £1,100, although I don't know if that's going to come to every region and if you're going to be able to spec between them at all. I will update the description when I have more info about that. So this is in the same range as a mid to high spec M1 MacBook Air or even the base MacBook Pro 13, both of which we are expecting to be updated soon, perhaps with Apple's new M2 chip, and also this goes up against the brand new Dell XPS 13 Plus. But for now, being the first laptop to come with both AMD 6000 series CPUs and the new integrated GPU, and also an OLED screen in a form factor like this, I'm still incredibly excited about this. But I'm going to take a left turn here and talk about battery life, as this is critical to any ultra-portable laptop. And so with the screen set to 250 nits and using the balanced power setting, I got just over 11.5 hours in my full screen YouTube test, which is fantastic, and you can easily expect between 9 to 11 hours of general use with this, more than enough to get you through a full working day. Although, while that's better than any Intel machine I've tested recently, it's not all that much better than last year's ZenBook 13 with the older Ryzen 7 5800U. But of course, battery life is only half the story. What about performance? Well, with basic workloads, it feels nice and snappy, apps open quickly, and it boots up in no time. And using the balanced power setting, the 6800U was around 300 MHz faster on average than last year's ZenBook 13 with its 5800U. But for sustained loads, performance is more dependent on which mode you select in the My ASUS app. For example, Whisper mode is good for keeping things cool and quiet, but after the first couple of minutes of load, it limits the CPU to around 1.8 GHz, which is around 12 watts. Balanced mode ramps the wattage up and down based on demand, but it keeps the frequency close to the performance mode for the first 5 minutes or so. Performance mode, on the other hand, manages a consistent 2.8 GHz, but at the expense of much louder fan noise and also a lot more heat. The upper part of the keyboard deck gets disappointingly toasty, although even so, this is the mode I'll be testing with. And starting in Cinebench, the 6800U is slightly behind my M1 MacBook Air in the single-core test, but was massively out in front in multi-core. Also, versus last year's ZenBook 13 with its 5800U, the 13S was around 7 to 8% faster in multi-core, while single-core scores were a wash. In Geekbench 5, things weren't so rosy, with the M1 Mac outpacing the ASUS a little bit except in the OpenCL Compute test, although it did beat out last year's ZenBook, although only by single-digit percentages. So it seems that in terms of the CPU, while it is a little bit more efficient and also a little bit more powerful than last year, it's nothing really mind-blowing. But let's talk about the Radeon graphics. And so in TimeSpy, the 6800U with its Radeon 680M graphics was a massive 86% faster than the outgoing 5800U with its Vega 8 graphics. That means that in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, where I pushed the graphics to high, I still got 31 FPS at Full HD Plus and a full 60 when using low settings. And in Rainbow Six Siege, I actually managed 89 FPS using ultra settings at Full HD, which is close to the kind of performance you'd expect from something like the NVIDIA GeForce MX 450. Although regardless, dedicated GPUs, particularly from NVIDIA, do have better game driver support, which can make a difference. Switching over to Premiere Pro, and I was able to render a 5-minute 1080p video using high bitrate 10-bit 422 footage in 12 minutes 19 seconds. Bearing in mind that's on a machine this thin and light, it's pretty impressive stuff. Something else new for this year is PCIe 4 storage, and it is very fast. And while you can upgrade this yourself, the RAM is soldered onto the PCB. Now, just like last year's non-S ZenBook 13, the OLED screen on this is absolutely gorgeous. It is 60 Hz, that's really the only downside, but I do appreciate we have this 16:10 aspect ratio. With this video, you can see we have a little bit of a letterboxing because that's the extra screen space you get with that taller aspect. And also I think the 2.8K resolution is a nice balance, especially at this 13.3-inch screen size, because 4K, while obviously sharper, would just destroy the battery life, but then Full HD still isn't quite sharp enough. So very much like Apple with their MacBooks, they've gone for a nice sort of halfway house. The OLED panel is lovely though. It's bright, it's way more colorful than a regular LED LCD screen, and of course you get all those deep saturated blacks. It's great for watching TV and movies, or even editing photos and videos. I did notice the top and bottom bezels aren't really the slimmest I've ever seen, but this may be more to do with matching the size of the keyboard deck. Weirdly though, the non-touch OLED panel is brighter at 600 nits and supports Display HDR 600, while this touch one peaks at 500 nits and supports Display HDR 500. What would you go for though, 600 nits non-touch or 500 nits touch? Let me know in the comments. In either case, the OLEDs are Pantone validated, and the 10-bit panel isn't far off pro-level color accuracy. My only complaint really is that 60 Hz refresh. 90 Hz would have made everything feel so much smoother, and also help you take advantage of all that extra power. Coming from a MacBook Pro or a Surface Pro 8 or one of ASUS's other high refresh laptops, 60 Hz just feels a bit slow. Ah, there it is. I wanted to show you this. It's quite funny. ASUS love giving themselves their own sort of world records because apparently this is the world's lightest 13-inch 2.8K OLED laptop. It's like me claiming I'm the tallest person in this room called Tom. I mean, I am, and I'm very proud of it, but it doesn't mean you should buy me? Not sure where that metaphor was going. But to be fair to ASUS, you've seen throughout that I've just been sort of chucking this around. It is so ridiculously light. We've also got this 180-degree hinge so you can fold it right back, to which a lot of people say, why would you want that? And then I say, well, if you're using a laptop stand or you've got it sort of propped up on your legs or something, then often you do want to push that screen back further. And also if you do go for the touchscreen version, then you can use it sort of flat on the desk like this. Picking it up, its obvious build quality here is top-notch, though the magnesium alloy body has the usual confusingly plastic feel that you don't get from, say, an all-aluminium MacBook Air. It does look premium though, and I love ASUS's new monogram Star Trek-y logo that we get on the lid. This is really subtle as well, but when you open it up, the Ergo Lift hinge actually lifts the keyboard deck, the bottom of the chassis, up a little bit, just so we get some more airflow underneath, and also gives you a slightly more comfortable typing position. Impressively for a laptop, there are actually 4 colors to choose from, including the puzzlingly named Aqua Celadon and the slightly unpleasant sounding Vestige Beige. I quite like this blue one though. The backlit chiclet keyboard is nice enough to type on, although I would like a little bit more of a sort of feedback feel to it. Also, the power button has a built-in fingerprint sensor, but I don't know why they've decided to swap the position with the Del key. That is going to get confusing. The touchpad also doubles as a calculator if you press the little button at the top right, so you can input your numbers, hopefully. There you go. So you can input your numbers that way, which is kind of interesting. Not sure how often I'd use that. I have seen some other reviews mentioning that the cursor could sometimes sort of jump a little bit and perhaps it wasn't the most consistently responsive. So far for me, I've not had any of those issues. One thing I really do like that I'm surprised more OEMs don't go for is this ZenBook's special bacteria inhibiting coating, which should mean bacteria can't grow and spread as easily. Now in terms of ports, on the side we have an audio jack along with 3 USB 3.2 Type-C ports, one with DisplayPort and power delivery, which can be upgraded to USB 4 via a firmware update. Of course, being an ultra portable, we don't have any of the bigger full-size HDMIs or Type-A ports, so you may need to bring an adapter with you. Should you buy it? Well, you can't, for a start. It's going to be a few more months before this actually comes out, and by that point, as I say, there's going to be some stiff competition from Apple, especially with its new M2-powered MacBooks, and also, of course, the Dell XPS 13 Plus. And while ASUS are saying this is one of the first laptops with the combination of OLED screen and 6000 series CPUs, well, obviously you can't buy it yet, so by the time it comes out, it may not be the only option. But this is still an incredibly well-rounded machine, mostly thanks to the screen, the nice chassis, the long battery life, and while the CPU gains are fairly incremental, the integrated graphics are a big step up. As I say though, I just wish we had that 90Hz refresh rate. And also it can get pretty warm under sustained high-performance loads. If you've got any questions or there's anything you'd like me to try with this, let me know in the comments below, and also let me know whether you're considering actually buying this when it comes out as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more from me, and I'll catch you next time right here on the Tech Chap.